All right, let's talk Texas Longhorns. This is a team, of course, that many people expect to contend for a national championship, to be a college football playoff team once again in 2025. We know it's a new era at the quarterback position. And to that end, Arch Manning just got some great news. And Longhorns fans, you guys should be really excited by this. We'll break it down in just a second. But first, I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, so we all know the Arch Manning era has finally arrived with the Texas Longhorns. It's a great time to be a college football fan in general, a Manning playing SEC football again. And look, we know Texas, the expectations are high, expected to make another run to the college football playoff, hopefully win a title now with Manning behind center. And to that end, Arch Manning has gotten a really great endorsement from someone who has nothing to gain saying such positive things. Let's jump right into this report, then we'll talk about it more on the other side. This is from On3 Sports. According to NFL-bound former Texas tight end Gunnar Helm, Arch Manning will more than live up to the hype in Austin. To be honest with you, I think he's going to live up to the hype. Absolutely, Helm said Thursday morning during a media availability at the NFL Combine, according to KVUE reporter Ann Parker Coleman. That's a heck of a sentence. One reason for Helm's confidence in Manning is how he's reportedly already asserted himself as a team leader inside the Texas locker room this offseason, and his familiar Manning self-effacing personality doesn't hurt either. On the field, he's already fallen into that leadership role as he needs to be. And I know a lot of the guys are pulling for him and super excited to play alongside him, Helm added. All right, this is obviously a big endorsement. Gunnar Helm, of course, has nothing to gain. He's moved on to the NFL, saying positive things about Arch Manning. I think he's being 100% honest here because there's no reason not to be. And this is obviously a good sign for Arch Manning, being the big Manning name. How could he handle being a leader? Like, would people respect him? What would his mentality be? And so far, he's passing that test with flying colors. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Texas fans, in the comment section below, outside of Arch Manning, what new Texas starter or new Texas contributor, doesn't necessarily have to be a starter, do you expect big things from in 2025? Look, obviously the quarterback, all eyes are going to be on him, but maybe it's some other new starter or new playmaker emerging that you think will have a big year. Give us that guy in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you now. What are your thoughts on this latest news out of Texas?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is really interesting comment by Gunnar Helm because there's a lot of factors playing into this, and I think you hit on the key point here is he doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't really have to go into so much detail. There's more he says, talk about his personal, like off the field relationship with Arch Manning and how well they get along. Because this is a guy in Gunnar Helm who he has a teammate that's going into the draft right now in Quinn Ewers. He was that teammate's one of his favorite targets as well last season, getting 60 catches, 786 yards, and 7 touchdowns from him. So there's a lot to say about the quarterback position when it comes to Quinn Ewers. But then when asked about Arch Manning, he could have been like, yeah, I think he's a good player. He's going to do fine. But no, he goes into this whole diatribe talking about how he thinks he's going to live up to the hype. He's going to be a really strong leader. Everybody really loves him. Talks about how humble he is. Talks about how well they get along off the field. He just goes the extra mile for Arch Manning. It's like you said, because it's true. It's because he believes these things about Arch Manning, and we've seen it as well. Arch Manning, every time I think he's touched the field this year, he really hasn't disappointed. But there's still that question in the back of your head. Is this the real deal? Are those garbage time moments going to translate into real games when it matters? I think absolutely it will. And guys like Gunnar Helm, who've played great football from good quarterbacks, guys like Quinn Ewers, really good quarterback. Gunnar Helm knows exactly what it takes to win games, played at Texas, and he thinks Arch Manning is capable of doing that. I think this is a pretty, as big of an endorsement as you can get from a teammate. I think this is a really good sign for Texas fans. I think it shows that you should be really excited about this new Arch Manning era in Austin.
Yeah, and it just sounds so cliche, but gosh darn it, Arch Manning, the comments about him, they sound just like Eli and Peyton, right? The question with Peyton Manning and later Eli Manning when they played at Tennessee and Ole Miss respectively was how are they going to handle, because you have Archie Manning, their dad, Arch's grandfather, was an SEC legend, is one of the all-time greats in college football history, certainly SEC history. You can make an argument he was the most impactful quarterback in SEC history until the 21st century, right? That's how big of a name he was. And how would Peyton Manning, how would Eli Eli Manning handle the situation? How could they handle that attention and stay humble and focused and just be one of the guys while also being the quarterback, the leader? How could they handle that tough dichotomy? And both those guys had the same kind of thing said about them when they were young quarterbacks, again, at Tennessee and Ole Miss, saying they were humble, self-effacing personality, hard worker, but also the leader when they needed to be. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Arch Manning. We know he's got the physical tools. We've seen it, right? There were some question marks coming out of high school based on his competition level, but now we've seen him play, obviously, of course, a number of games doing a bunch of different things for Texas. He started some games under his belt, right? We know he can make every throw. We know he's a great athlete. We know he's got some size to him, right? So we know all those questions about physicality 100% answered. No concerns there at all. How could he handle the mental aspect of being the quarterback, the franchise quarterback, essentially, of the closest thing to an NFL program at the college level? That would be the Texas Longhorns. Would he have the ability to manage that duality? Humble, one of the guys, but also the man, the big kahuna, the leader in the locker room, while also dealing with the fact his last name is Manning, right? That's a situation that no one really knows except for two other guys on this planet, and that's Eli and Peyton. And so far, Arch Manning is cut from that same cloth. And that's a great sign, obviously, for Texas, because Peyton did amazing things at Tennessee. Eli did amazing things at Ole Miss. And I tell you what, we know those two quarterbacks, and of course, the patriarch of it all, Archie. They were great quarterbacks in the SEC in their own right, but none of those guys won a national title. And if Arch Manning can keep this mindset going, keep this approach going forward with this coaching staff and this roster, he can be the first Manning to accomplish that elusive feat.